you really have to accept that one amazing offer you have received from that buyer who has cold called you or sent you an email? This is exactly what I'm going to discuss with my guest today. Welcome to Business Beyond You, the one-stop hub for insights, conversations, and perspectives business owners need to build businesses that last beyond them. I'm Sara Vazi, M&A advisor in California, your host, and today my guest is Claudio Vilas. Claudio is a very successful M&A advisor and he's founder of Roofing Biz Brokers. Claudio is known for his disciplined approach and his exclusive focus in selling roofing companies. And it's exactly why he has had so much success selling roofing companies at strong valuations. Claudio, welcome to Business Beyond You.
Thank you, Sarah. It's a pleasure being here. It's always a pleasure talking with you. It's great. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you. So, Claudio, the topic is the seller sometimes are doing something and suddenly an email pops up or they get a call and somebody says that, oh, I'm interested in your business and I'm ready to put an amazing offer to buy your business. This is what I want to talk about you because you have a lot of experience in this field. So before we get more into this topic, tell me, for the businesses you sell, like roofing companies that have a sale between like $5 million to $30 million, for example, who are the buyers? What type of buyers generally you see in the market and you deal with them?
Great. Well, it's very important to differentiate the real buyers from the fake buyers. Let's start with that because we're going to go back to that email that you received. Those are most of the time they're not real buyers, but the real buyers are typically private equity companies that are investing in the roofing industry, that they have a thesis that has them invest in specific companies. Then you have strategic buyers, which are other roofing companies in general that are looking to expand and looking to another geography, for example, or sometimes looking to change if they're residential, they might be looking to buy commercial or vice versa, or looking for other states. Those are called strategic partners. Then there's another group of buyers, very important, which is the family offices. Now, family offices are different than the private equity because they have different investment criteria and also different exit criteria. Family offices typically will buy a business and hold it. They're not going to buy it and flip it 5 years down the road. So it's a different animal. So you have the family offices, you have the private equities, you have the strategic buyers, and then you have other types of buyers. Some of them are called search funds, and some of them are called independent sponsors. Those are typically individuals who don't have a big organization behind them, and they also don't have the money. They have to go and look for the money after they sign a deal. And then finally, you have individuals, basically people who are tired of a corporate job, or maybe they were great managers in a company and they want to go on their own. So that's all the spectrum that you might see in the buyer side of the deals.
Mm-hmm. So for the ones who are not familiar, for private equities, how do they work? They buy businesses, add them together, keep them, and sell them, correct? Is it the general platform, correct?
That's right. That's right. So you think of private equity as a group of professionals that has backing from investors, investors that are typically large companies or individuals with a lot of money, and they invest in private company. This is private because they're not buying companies that are public companies, like what you can buy in the stock market, right? These are companies that are private, and that's why it's called private equity. It's typically a group that will buy one company that is called a platform. And then after they buy that platform, they're going to buy other companies that will be add-ons to that platform. Okay. That's the way they work. And their goal is within 5 to 7 years to increase the EBITDA of those companies and then sell it to somebody else for a bigger multiple. So they do some kind of like an arbitrage of the multiples.
Okay, okay, got it. So let's say that I'm a business owner. I have a business and I want to sell it, and I come to you before we
Mhm.
want to consider other options. Let's say that you, as a professional who are full time doing this, what is exactly the steps that you move me through your process? Tell me exactly what happens when I contact you. If I have a roofing company, I've been successful for so many years, and now I want to exit.
Great question. Well, the first thing I do is an evaluation of the company, not an evaluation, not a valuation and evaluation. I look at your company, I diagnose it. I look at how you're doing in standard operating procedures. I'm looking at, how do you do your marketing? How do you do your sales? How do you manage your crews? And what kind of administrative KPIs you have, and so forth. So we look at your company from the eyes of the buyer. And that's where sometimes people get surprised because we get back to them uh, with views that they didn't really think of before, right? Well, typically the number one situation always has to do with their financials, which are typically not really ready to sell. So what I do is I do that evaluation and I let you know whether you are ready to be sold or not. Okay. And I'll be honest with you, most of the companies are not ready to sell. Okay. And that means that it's more important for you to work on whatever you need to solve before you sell it. Now, you can always, decide to sell it, but that means that you're not going to get the maximum valuation for your company. So number one is do that evaluation. Number two is you got two pathways now, right? You have the pathway of actually putting the business on the market or fixing whatever you need to fix to be able to put the business on the market later. If you put the business on the market, then we start working on your a deeper analysis into your financials, into your company to create what's called a SIM, which is confidential information memorandum. That's the number one document that we use to show your company to potential buyers. Okay, we do that. Well, we do several interviews and ask you a lot of questions about your company. So we're able to present it under the best light possible to the potential buyers.
Mhm.
Once we do that, then the next step is to decide which are the best buyers for you. Okay, so it could be that the best buyers are private equity. It could be that the best buyers are strategic buyers, or so forth. And we put a plan together to reach out to them. Right now, because I've done so many deals, I got in my database more than 900 buyers that are looking specifically for roofing companies. But not all of them are going to be right for you. One of them is going to be right for you. All the rest is going to be a lot of work, but we're not going to get anywhere, right? So
Mhm.
the question is, how do you find that needle in the haystack, that buyer that is actually right for you? So we reach out to them. We send them this information. Of course, before we send any information on your company, we have them sign an NDA. We receive their questions, we answer the questions, and we have relationships with them before they get to talk to you. One of the things that I'm really always passionate about is the seller, the owner, needs to stay in the business and focusing on the business so the business doesn't decay while we're selling it. If you're actually distracted by meetings, by responding stuff and all that, you're not managing the business. You really want to have that business running at full speed while we are getting those buyers for you. Once
Mhm.
we've had a pool of buyers and we've gone back and forth with them and had all these conversations, then we're going to ask them for an IOI. Many people know about LOIs, very few people know about IOIs. I, in my process, would rather have first IOIs and then LOIs, and I'll explain why. The IOIs tell me if somebody might be interested or not and what are those parameters, right? So I can weed out some of them and stay with the bigger ones. Those better offers are going to be shared with my seller. So we're going to sit down with the seller and we're going to go through all these IOIs and we're going to look at three things. Number one, the price. Number two, the terms and conditions. Okay, the structure of the deal. First is how much they're going to pay. The second part is how they're going to pay. That is as important and sometimes even more important than just the price. And the third part of this, which is also extremely important and very few people focus on, is who is that buyer? Does that buyer have the money to actually do this? Do they have the capacity of make your business grow? Do they have the same values of the sales of the company that's selling them? That's selling. So all of that is really important because when you sell a company, you're not just going to sell and cash out and leave. You're going to be with the buyer for a long time. So it's very important not only to look at the price and the terms and conditions and the structure. It's also very important to look at who the buyer is. So with all that, we create a matrix with all the different variables, and we have a conversation with the seller. The seller will tell me, okay, fine, you had 10 offers. I really want to talk to only 3 of these or 4 of these. Discard the other ones, and we're just focusing now on these 4, 3 or 4 of the top offers. Now I go back to them, and then I ask them for the LOI. Now we're getting serious, okay? Now we're asking for a more in-depth offer, okay? And this is where also you will differentiate the good brokers from the bad brokers. Of course, I think I'm a good broker, but a good broker will negotiate the LOI. A bad broker will try to sign an LOI. I negotiate the LOI until I'm really sure that if we sign it, we're going to close. Many brokers will just sign the LOI and then start negotiating stuff. Why? Because they want to get to the end of the line. But the truth is that when you sign an LOI, the leverage moves from you to the buyer. So let me explain this a little bit more. And with an example, I have a company right now here in South Florida that I put to the market. I had several offers. We get to the 3 top offers. I sit down with the seller. The seller says, I like all of 3. Right? He really likes all of them, but this one is much better. So we're going to go to this one. I connect with the buyer. I tell him, this is you are the chosen one, and I talk to the other 2, and I say, I'm sorry, but we can't continue. Now both buyers came back to me and said, wait a minute, I want to improve my offer now. I said, okay, well, send me your best offer because I'm not going to be renegotiating this 10 times. So now I want to see your best offer. So I called the owner yesterday, and this is literally happening now. I called the owner and I said, you know what? The other 2 actually improved their offers, and now they're better than the one that you liked. Okay? Mm-hmm. So this is the leverage that you have when you haven't signed the NDA, the LOI. Because the moment that you sign the LOI, then the leverage goes to the buyer because the buyer has you, and you can't negotiate with anybody else until you sign or not the purchase agreement. So the leverage. The closer you get to the LOI, the larger, the bigger the leverage the seller has. That's when you negotiate. And when you negotiate every little aspect of that LOI. Because if you leave anything to be discussed or negotiated afterwards, well, then right after you sign the LOI, the leverage switches and you don't have that much leverage. Your buyer does. Okay, so that's the process that I take. Of course, then you have the quality of earnings, the due diligence, and you get to closing, which also means that when I start working with with clients, we start thinking about what that quality of earnings and what due diligence is going to look like, and we start preparing it ahead of time, little by little, so we don't have overwhelm the seller with a lot of questions at that point. There's a lot of mind lens in this process, and you really need to always be thinking 2 steps ahead. Mm-hmm. That's clear?
That's great. So let me assume that I'm one of those buyers. So when you bring a business to the market, I look at it and it doesn't have any red flags, and it has all of the signs of a great company that I'm interested in. So when I want to buy that business, I need to really compete with all of other buyers who are like me, and I do my best to, see exactly how much I can put and give my best offer to have a chance both in IOI stage and LOI stage, correct? So you have made everything so hard for me. It's not
Yes.
easy to come forward unless I do a lot of, that's why I think I have to make good relationship with you and try to ask, okay, Claudia, can you give me a hint of where we are? How can I put an offer? So you have
Yes.
made really everything hard for me as a buyer, correct? You have.
I don't make everything hard for you as a buyer if you're a good buyer. But what this process actually does is
Yeah, but
it eliminates the bad
I
buyers.
cannot buy a business that is out there, is a good business at a cheap price when I come through your, channel.
No, no, you can't because you're gonna. I'm not gonna say you're gonna pay the most, but you will give the best deal for the seller because that's my job. I'm not representing the buyer. I'm representing the seller. But I have really good relationships with good buyers. So if there's two buyers on the table and one of them has already done deals with me, and I know that they follow through, they know that they have a word and they keep it. Well, that's very important too. It's not only about, I said before, not only about the money. It's about the integrity of the buyer. The buyer quality is very, very important and very underrated. So I sold more than one business to the same buyers, a lot. Okay. Why? Because they are trustworthy. Because I know that I sold a business to them 3 years ago, and I talked to the owner today because I keep track and keep a relationship with the owners. And they say I love it. They're following with their promises and so forth. So that buyer is a better quality buyer than somebody that says, "Oh, I don't want to compete." Well, if you don't want to compete, it's because you can't compete, and I don't want you to be buying one of my clients.
Yeah, so now I understand why in all of these classes that are for business buyers, they say don't go through the brokers,
Brokers, of
directly
course,
to the sellers. Reach out to the sellers and see if you can get a deal there, correct?
exactly. But if you don't have competition, you are in charge, and that's what a buyer wants. Not what a buyer, what some buyers want. Because, like I said before, the quality buyers have no problem going through this because they know that for them to get the best deal, the seller has to have the best deal too,
Yeah,
right? This is
I
a
totally
win-win.
agree with you. The great buyers, they are looking for a win-win situation. A lot of them are also interested to keep the seller involved and, share the future income with them and have them roll over equity. So they're not looking to buy cheap, but, if a buyer is not really one of the best ones, then that's how they can play it. They can go directly to a seller and try to get an offer from them. And sometimes, and we are just talking about the good buyers, and there are so many scenarios that the sellers might get a call from somebody who is not really a good buyer. Let me tell you an example. I once a seller came to me to get help to sell their business, and they told me that they have been working with a potential buyer for the last 3 years. The guy came in and they said yeah, he was interested in buying their business, and started getting information after information after information. And it was exactly 3 years that they were dealing with him, and they said that we cannot get him to anywhere. So when we started our work, the first thing I did was going to that buyer and say, hey, if you want to buy it, where is your LOI? Where is your offer? Where is your, everything?
Yeah.
So when we pushed that guy, we ended up understanding that he wants to start the same business with his cousin who is in another state, and he was just gathering information. That's it. So there are a lot of, bad, unfortunate situations like that
Yes.
comes out. And sometimes we hear, I think it was a while ago, you told me you talked to somebody that a buyer had reached out to him and gave him an unreasonable high offer.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's how they put their feet in the door and now the seller thinks that, oh, I can sell my business at this price. That's amazing. So let's go forward.
Yeah, well, it's a typical tactic of unscrupulous buyers. Again, I don't want to say buyers in general because they're good and bad like everything else, right? You
Correct.
have good and bad buyers, good and bad owners, good and bad brokers. I mean, let's not paint everybody with the same brush, if you will. But if you have unscrupulous buyers, which unfortunately, in general, like anywhere else, is the majority of the ones that send those emails, they will offer you huge, multiples, 8, 9, 10x your EBITDA, and they'll hook you, and then you sign that LOI because you're already thinking of the yacht you're going to buy right after you sell the company, and you're going to go on vacation to Europe or whatever, and once they hook you, now they start peeling down all that great offer that they gave you, and they're going to find things that are going to say, well, we thought there was this, now because it's this, I'm going to lower the price, I'm going to lower this, I want to have a bigger holdback, I'm going to pay you on earnouts, or this is the working capital that we're going to deduct from your business, and all of a sudden that 8x exit that you were going to have turns into a 4-3x, which is more like the industry standard, right? So 4 to 5 would be the industry standard. But you lost all this time. You were dragged through the mud. They asked you a million questions. And if they actually end up buying you, they're going to buy you with a raw deal, a deal that doesn't have anything to do with what they offered at the beginning. So
And
that
it's not
happens
even
way too
just
often.
about the price, correct? There are so many different terms that are important after you sell the business. So it's
Yes.
not just only about the price, how you get your money and what you will do after the sale, and a lot of different things.
It's not just the sticker price. I say it all the time to anybody that wants to listen. Many people don't want to listen, and then they say, "Oh no, this is, I know what I'm doing." Okay, well, if you know what you're doing, go ahead, do it. Right? I can't stop you from doing it, but it is a shame when you see companies that have been built for 20, 30 years. The owner was building the company, and then just because he doesn't want to have an advisor on his side, he just gives it away, and the last deal of your working life turns to be a terrible deal. That is what happens. And unfortunately, it happens way too often, especially in the roofing industry. This is very special because the roofing industry is flooded with fake buyers, flooded. For every listing that I get, now I'm starting to ask them to send me all the emails that they get saying that they want to buy their business. And then I follow up with them. And then I give them a report on, look, this was AI, or this was a junior person, or this was unfortunately a buy side broker showing up as if he was a private equity or something like that, which is very common, or telling them we represent a multi-billion-dollar private equity. Well, they don't represent anybody because private equities don't have those representations. What they do is they pay a finder's fee, right? So
Mhm.
anybody, you, me, my son, my friend, anybody could find a company, introduce it to them at zero value, and then if they close, they give them a finder's fee. That's what they say represent, which is
Mhm.
not right.
Okay.
So because when you want to sell a company, you have to prepare a company. Just like, if you're going to go out and party, you want to dress well, you want to have a nice outfit, you want to put some perfume on. And same thing happens with a company, right? You want to make it
Sure.
look good, and make sure that whoever buys you loves you, right? In this case, buy side brokers, I'm really, really biased against them. Not everybody, again, some of them. They come and they say these things, and then they tell the seller, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to sell your business for free." Of course, they're going to sell the business for free because they're getting paid by the buyer, right? And they add zero value to this whole equation.
Great. Claudia, you have a ton of knowledge, and I'm sure we can talk till tomorrow, but Since we are going out of time, let's wrap it up here, and we will definitely have another time that we talk about more topics related to this subject. But for now, tell me, if I'm a seller, I got an email or a call from somebody who is interested to buy my business, what is the best thing I can do?
Pick up the phone and call a broker, just like you, Sarah, like me, or any other broker. Uh, to me, the worst thing you can do is to sell it on your own. The second worst thing you can do is to rely on a buy side broker. And the real thing that you should do is talk to a broker that knows what he's doing, that has a track record of selling companies, that has affiliations to the IBBA or to the other associations, whatever, in Florida is the BBF. But people that actually know what they're doing. Unfortunately, this is a profession where many people, think they can do it and they can wing it, and they're actually playing with people's livelihood. So
Yeah,
reach
it's
out to
a
your broker, to whoever
result
you
of
love.
one lifetime. I think selling a business is one of the few most important decisions everybody might get in their lives.
That's right. You can't do it on your own, and you should not do it with people who are not prepared or people that are working for your opponents. I mean, the one thing that I always say is, if you're going to get divorced, are you going to use your partner's attorney to save money? No. Well, you shouldn't do the same thing with your business. Your business is way too valuable just to throw it away.
Okay. Claudio, thank you so much for your time. Can you give your contact information? We will add it under the video, but just tell us how somebody can contact you if they need help selling their roofing companies.
Sure. My name is Claudio Vilas. My email is claudio.vilas@theroofingbizbroker.com. My website is theroofingbizbroker.com. And my cell phone, if you want to call me, I'm always open, 954-774-4141.
Thank you so much, Claudio. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time. Bye.
Bye-bye.